Years ago, the city was recovering from 4 water emergencies over a 17-month period. That included water boils that shut down most restaurants and caused a run on bottled water, so great that the truckloads had to be delivered to most of the biggest stores here in town. Well, tonight, the public gets to look at the latest quality report, and our Brian Burns joins us now with more on that. Brian?
Rody, the Consumer Confidence Report is actually a requirement of TCEQ and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency and was delivered to customers in their June water bills. Because of those 4 water interruptions, which included 3 water boils and a short-lived ban that turned out not to be a problem, the city was struggling with a bad public perception that the water could not be trusted. After several proposals to improve water quality were carried out, the city was able to change the rating to superior, making it one of the top-rated municipal water systems in the entire state.
There's only about 15 cities in Texas that have the superior rating from the TCEQ. And being a superior rated water system, that is definitely a great thing, prestigious award to get recognized as.
Our goal when we got elected, the council that got elected in 2016, was that our goal was to get a superior water rating on our water system, because as you recall, prior to that, we'd had numerous occasions of water boils and water interruptions, and we just said this has got to stop.
Water Department officials say there's a long-term plan in place to keep the city's water system constantly being upgraded. Now, tonight's public meeting will begin at 6 o'clock at the Water Department on Holly Road and last until 7:30. Ready?
All right, thank you, Brian.